Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
I felt good. And you? That's what I whispered the last time Laura and I were truly close. My voice drifted in the quiet of our bedroom, the only light coming from the moon beyond the window. Her hair spread across my chest, her breath warm against my skin. I remember the way she smiled at me, eyes half-lidded, her fingertips tracing lazy circles over my shoulder. For a second, I truly believed we were one. Or maybe I just wanted to. Back then, it never occurred to me that she was already gone. Now I ask myself if she ever answered, or if I even heard her voice at all. I'm not sure when it started. The sense of being a third wheel in my own marriage. At first, I couldn't name it. It was a small tug in my chest, a faint discomfort that I'd bury under daily chores or phone calls for work. But I'd catch her expression sometimes, a flicker of distance when she thought I wasn't looking. As though she'd turned inward to another world. A world without me. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was imagining her silence, the emptiness in her goodnight kisses. But denial only sweetens the poison. And by the time I realized how deep I'd drunk from it, I was on the verge of drowning. She said she had a yoga class every Friday at the women's club. The first time she mentioned it, it didn't register as a lie. Why would it? Laura liked yoga. It relaxed her, made her limbs lithe and toned, gave her that slow, feline grace that always caught my eye. But that particular Friday, she told me to pick her up at 9. She insisted, in that gentle but firm tone that said, "Don't come any earlier. I'll be busy until then." And I, like a fool, agreed. I had plans. Flowers in a paper bag, maybe a quiet dinner. A chance to reconnect. Traffic was loud that evening. Houston can be relentless, and everyone seemed to be in a hurry. I waited in the car outside the club, checking messages, tapping my fingers on the steering wheel. Minutes bled into hours. The city around me was alive with horns and tires on asphalt, but inside my car it felt like everything was muffled. A vacuum of suspicion I tried to ignore. By 9:30, not a single woman had emerged from the main entrance. The security guard stared at me from behind her glass booth with that bored, unimpressed look. I got out, locked the car, and walked in. "Excuse me," I said softly to the guard. "I'm looking for my wife, Laura Wilson. She said they had a yoga session tonight." She scanned a clipboard, frowned. "That class ended at 8. And sir, no one named Laura Wilson came in today." My stomach lurched. But I kept my voice level, trying not to show the crack in my composure. "Are you sure? Maybe she just didn't check in." The guard shook her head. "Nobody by that name. I'm sure of it." I thanked her, forced a polite smile, and left. The hush that followed me back to the car was crushing. Outside, a siren wailed somewhere. An ambulance slicing through the night. It felt so far away. My own breathing sounded louder. I sat behind the wheel, stared at the empty passenger seat, then let the question form on my tongue. Where the hell is she? I got home an hour later than planned. The flowers half wilted in the bag. Our son, Tommy, just 5, was still awake, buried in pillows on the living room floor. He had a grin on his face, giggling at a cartoon on TV. The second I stepped in, his eyes lit up. "Daddy," he called, and launched himself at my knees. I ruffled his hair. I tried to push away the tension, the bitterness, so I could be the father he deserved. "Hey, buddy," I said softly, switching off the TV. "What are you still doing up?" He shrugged, looking pleased with himself. "Mommy said I could watch." She went out, but she came back with a friend. A man. He was giving her a massage. She said it's a game, and I should stay in my room and be really quiet. "Like you told me. Remember, Daddy? You said to be quiet if I hear grown-up stuff." So I was. I didn't understand. I swear, in that moment, my mind went blank. Then Tommy lay down on the carpet, face down, wiggled to demonstrate. She was like this, and he sat on top of her. Here, he patted his lower back, and I heard her moaning. So I stayed super quiet. I couldn't breathe. My throat tightened so violently, it felt like I was about to choke on pure, unfiltered betrayal. I glanced at the hallway leading to our bedroom, our bed. Through the partly opened door, everything was dark. No sound, just the faint hum of the air conditioner. My boy kept talking, describing the way Mommy had whispered instructions to the man. Tommy's voice was innocent. He had no concept of betrayal. He was just proud he'd obeyed me and stayed quiet. I closed my eyes, patted his shoulder gently. "It's okay, buddy. You did good." My voice was calm, flat. A strange hush wrapped around me, and I had no idea if I was about to explode or collapse. "Let's get you to bed." I tucked him in, forced a small smile onto my lips, kissed his forehead. Then I stood in the doorway, watching him drift to sleep. One lamp lit his aquarium, the fish drifting in neon water. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it in my ears. I wanted to storm into the bedroom, flip the lights on, scream, demand an explanation. But I remembered the guard's voice. No one named Laura Wilson today, and I remember Tommy's wide-eyed sincerity as he reenacted that humiliating scene. The raw sense of being replaced in my own home. I stood there for what felt like hours, not trusting myself to move. Eventually, I turned off the hall light and stepped into the bedroom. It was empty. Laura was gone. She hadn't even waited. The bed was unmade, the comforter flung aside. Like they left in a hurry, or maybe they just didn't care enough to put things back. For 2 weeks, I said nothing. I put on a mask. I still greeted her in the morning with a vague smile, asked if she slept well, said I had an early conference call. I avoided looking her in the eyes too long. She didn't apologize. She didn't even bother to invent a new lie. Part of me wondered if she sensed my knowledge, if she knew how close I was to bursting. Or maybe she just didn't care. For a while, I existed in a haze of confusion and suspicion. I tracked her calls, hacked into our joint bank statements, discovered lines of payment to a Michael Rodriguez, a physiotherapist. I read enough about him online to piece things together. The walls of my mind were plastered with the same question. Why? I'd watch her get dressed in the mornings, slipping into a stylish skirt or a sleek blouse, perfume drifting in soft waves around her. She'd glance at me over her shoulder, eyes unreadable. Then she'd say, "I'll be late at the spa tonight," or "We have some new product training." And I'd simply nod, sipping coffee, doing my best to keep the trembling out of my hands. Tommy would be in the next room, playing with his cars. He didn't know what was happening, but I sensed his confusion. Children feel tension in the air, no matter how carefully you hide it. She lied every day, and every day I swallowed it, because I had a plan. Or at least I was working on one. My anger simmered, but I needed proof, and I needed time. I contacted an old friend, a lawyer, who specialized in corporate law. He taught me how to quietly shift legal authority of Laura's spa business to me. She'd given me a power of attorney months before for tax reasons, never suspecting I'd actually use it. But I did. Her arrogance made it too easy. She traveled so often, or disappeared for yoga, that I had ample space to maneuver. I wanted to see how far she'd push me. I wanted to see if she'd notice. She didn't. She just kept calling Michael, running to him, lying to me, lying to Tommy. Meanwhile, I gathered every account statement, every contract. I drained her corporate funds into an account under my name. Every morning, I'd whisper to my reflection in the bathroom mirror, "Hold on, just hold on. Almost there." And I'd start to wonder, why was I waiting? Why did I still care? Maybe I just needed to prove to myself that I wasn't helpless, that I wasn't just some cuckold left out in the cold. A man doesn't cry, right? A man acts. That final Friday, she was out again. Supposedly, an evening with her girlfriends. A new yoga workshop. Something. I didn't even hear the details. I put Tommy to bed, my heart heavy. Before turning off his light, he asked, "Daddy, is Mommy mad at me? She never plays pillow fights anymore." I tried to smile. "No, buddy, she's just busy." The lie felt bitter on my tongue, but I had no choice. Then I went to my home office and dialed my lawyer friend. "Do it," I said. "Lock everything." When she returned after midnight, I was sitting in the dark living room. The lamp by the couch cast a weak glow. She froze in the doorway, an expression of mild annoyance crossing her face. "You scared me," she said softly, kicking off her heels. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" I stared at her, the shape of her body in that tight dress, the faint smell of cologne on her neck that wasn't mine. My voice was calm. "Laura, something came up at your spa. Might want to check your phone." She blinked. What happened? But she didn't grab her phone to see. I noticed her hands trembling slightly, a telling sign. She tried to project confidence, but the tension in her posture gave her away. "It's locked up." "Accounts frozen," I said. "Someone closed them. Transferred ownership. The staff can't get in. Clients got turned away. You might lose your license. I don't know." Her eyes widened, shock flickering there. "What? That's ridiculous." "I don't." She fumbled for her purse, took out the phone. Her face went pale as she scrolled through message after frantic message. I waited in silence. Outside, a car rumbled by, headlights sweeping across the wall. I felt my pulse pounding in my neck. "You should probably talk to your lawyer," I said, "although you might find it difficult. He's not your lawyer anymore." She stared at me, mouth half open. "Daniel, what have you done?" I stood up slowly, my gaze level. "You lied to me. Over and over. I needed to protect myself. Protect Tommy. So I took your business. It's not yours anymore." She let out a short laugh, disbelieving, forced. "That's impossible. My name is on everything. And I have the power of attorney you signed. Remember when you needed me to handle those taxes? You were busy traveling for your spa seminars. That document gave me a lot of room to maneuver. I've been negotiating deals, signing off on changes. You never asked to see them." She swayed on her feet, shock giving way to panic. I could almost taste her fear. "You can't do this to me," she hissed. "That's my company." I felt a surge of anger, then something close to pity. Maybe we were both at fault, in different ways. But the memory of Tommy's soft voice, describing the massage game, flashed through my mind. My pity hardened into resolve. "You gave me no choice," I said quietly. "I watched you lie. I watched you bring another man into our home. In front of our son. I'm done rescuing you." Her voice wavered. "Daniel, please, you." I raised my hand, a gesture of finality. "Don't. It's done. I'm done." Then I walked away, leaving her alone in the living room, the phone clutched in her shaking hand. For the next few days, I turned off my phone. I stayed at a cheap motel to clear my head. I should have hated her. I expected to be drowning in rage or heartbreak. But I felt a strange emptiness, a numb sense of calm. My friend coordinated the rest. Soon, all the spa's paperwork was in my name, and the employees got a message from new management. I didn't do it to ruin them. I had no ill will toward the staff. But I wanted to show Laura that she no longer held the strings in my life. She called. She screamed on my voicemail, threatened legal action, threatened to go after me in court. Then the messages turned into sobbing pleas, half-garbled apologies. Sometimes she'd whisper, "I love you, Daniel. Please come back." But that, too, rang hollow. Where was that love when she pressed her body against Michael's? I thought about confronting him. Maybe punching him in the face. But that seemed pointless. He was nobody to me. She was the one who broke our vows. He was just a man who took advantage of an open door, so I never called him or sought him out. I did, however, wonder if he would step in to protect her from the fallout. Something told me he wouldn't. He was a free agent, a flirt. He wanted her body, not her problems. Let her see how quickly that kind of relationship evaporates under pressure. I returned home a week later. Laura was gone. I found her note in the kitchen. I can't believe how cruel you've become. I'll be at my parents' in California. I'm taking Tommy. But she didn't, because I'd already told my lawyer to file an emergency petition for custody. The moment she tried to withdraw Tommy from school or travel across state lines, there would be legal consequences. I never wanted to use my connections that way, but I'd do anything for my son. She must have realized it, because she left him behind too. Abandoned. That single fact hammered my heart in a way I never expected. She loved him, didn't she? Then again, maybe not enough to fight me. I stared at Tommy's door. He was curled up on his bed, hugging a stuffed dinosaur. He looked so small and lost. I rubbed my temples, feeling a wave of grief. How could she do this? Then I reminded myself, she'd already done worse. Still, I had to swallow the sorrow, because a man's got to hold it together, right? For a while, we lived in silence, me and Tommy. I told him Mommy went to visit his grandparents, that she needed time. He seemed confused, but children adapt. Every night, I made dinner, we read a story. He dozed off with a question on his lips. Daddy, is Mommy coming back? I'd kiss his forehead and say, I don't know. The words sliced me open every time. Meanwhile, I dove into a new project, rented a small office downtown with the money I'd siphoned. I had experience in consulting, so I set up a new business, forging fresh partnerships. It kept me busy, kept my mind off the betrayal. The hush in my chest gradually receded. Sometimes, in the morning, I actually breathed easily. No lump in my throat, no swirl of anxiety, just a tired kind of peace. One late evening, I sat in that office, the overhead fluorescent buzzing like a trapped fly. Stacks of papers and a single photo on my desk. Me and Tommy at a baseball game. A pang of sadness flickered inside me. The phone rang. I didn't check the caller ID before answering. Hello. My voice echoed off the bland walls. A pause. Then a trembling sigh. Daniel, it's me. I recognized Laura's tone. She sounded hollow, empty. I said nothing. She cleared her throat. I'm in town. Can we talk? I leaned back in my chair. My shoulders felt tense. I remembered the countless nights I'd lain awake, thinking about her in another man's arms. The way she never came home. The yoga lie. The humiliating scene with Tommy. My voice came out softer than expected. What do you want, Laura? She gave a shaky laugh. I don't know. Everything is gone. My business, my income, my dignity. You took it all. I just wanted to see if we can work something out. For Tommy's sake, I closed my eyes. A swirl of memories. Her in that black dress, that graceful arch of her back, the flicker of excitement in her eyes when I used to come home early. It felt like it happened a century ago. I'll always do what's best for him, I said at last. But you didn't even try to see him. You didn't call him. Why? Her breath caught. I was ashamed, and I was scared you wouldn't let me near him. Maybe that was true. Maybe not. But her fear was a flicker of satisfaction deep inside me. She deserved to feel it. Still, there was a time I would have protected her from everything. Even from herself. I ran a hand across my jaw, feeling stubble. He's fine. He's safe. If you want to see him, you should follow the legal process. Legal process, she repeated. So that's it. You're shutting me out behind documents and lawyers. I pressed my lips together. You shut me out first, Laura. I just responded in kind. She was silent. Outside, the street lamp hissed. Finally, she whispered, I never meant to fall for him. It was just. He made me feel alive. He cared about my body, my dreams, I don't know, Daniel. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to stop. I felt a flicker of disgust. I'm not a priest, Laura. Your confession means nothing now. Her voice caught. I understand. There was a pause. "If you change your mind about letting me see Tommy, please let me know." "I'll think about it," I said and hung up. After that call, I stared at the phone for a long time, numbness filling me again. Then I left the office, walked into the Houston night, neon signs reflecting on wet streets. Cars roared by, and in that chaos, I felt an odd sense of calm. My illusions were dead and buried. And yet, for the first time in years, I felt a stirring of relief, because I was done lying to myself. Over the next months, she tried to reach out more often. Sometimes she knocked on my door, calling my name. I'd let her inside, watch as she kneeled to hug Tommy, tears running down her cheeks. I'd step back to avoid her trembling glances, those half-pleas for forgiveness. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring anymore. I wasn't wearing mine either. The tension in the house was thick, and Tommy sensed it. He'd cling to my leg, unsure of how to behave around her. She'd bend to him, stroke his hair, say, "Mommy loves you." But it sounded too late, too forced. Once, I snapped, "Stop crying in front of him. If you want to talk, talk to me later." She flinched as though I'd slapped her. I realized I was speaking in that same quiet, controlled tone, the voice that delivered all my anger without raising its volume. She left soon after, wiping her tears, promising she'd come back. Then she did come back, but only to pick up a few clothes. She asked me for money, said she was desperate. I told her to get a lawyer, that we'd settle it in court. She stared at me like I was a stranger, and maybe I was. I didn't recognize the man in the mirror either. Part of me felt triumphant. Another part felt drained. At night, I'd lie awake thinking about how easy it is for love to die and turn to dust. I'd recall the early days of our relationship, our first date, how she'd laugh at my jokes. Then I'd feel my heart twist with bitterness. I wasn't sure if I hated her or missed her. Maybe both. Tommy was the only reason I kept going. He needed me. I tried to show him that we still had a life, that there was stability in our home. We got him a new bedroom set, something bright with an aquarium theme. He loved fish, so I bought a larger tank with colorful reefs and neon tetras. He'd sit there, transfixed by the gentle swaying of aquatic plants, his reflection blending with theirs. Watching him grin gave me something to hold on to. One evening, I found him in front of the aquarium, whispering. I asked, "What are you saying, buddy?" He looked over at me, big eyes gleaming. "I told them to be quiet so they can hear Mommy, if she comes back." I swallowed, ruffled his hair, and murmured, "Let's read a story." A few days later, I took him to the park, taught him how to kick a soccer ball around. Little by little, his questions about her diminished. Children adapt, but they carry scars too, even if it doesn't show right away. Meanwhile, my project thrived. I poured my frustration into building a new kind of business consultancy, forging alliances, planning expansions. I didn't even want to keep the spa. Once I'd proven I could take it from her, it held no meaning to me. So I sold it, using the funds to stabilize my new office, to make sure Tommy's future would be secure. I guess I needed that sense of victory, because every memory of her betrayal still stung. No matter how many times I told myself I was stronger than my pain. One morning, I woke to a text from Michael Rodriguez. He must have gotten my number from old records. "We need to talk," he wrote. I sat at my kitchen table, phone in hand, reading those 4 words over and over. My stomach turned. Did I want to see this man, the one who had my wife pinned under him in my own bedroom? The one who made her moan loud enough that my son had to hide in silence. But something stirred in me, an urge to face him, maybe to see if he was as smug in person as in my nightmares. I texted back one word. "Where?" He gave an address, a fitness center near downtown. I arranged for a babysitter, drove there with a knot in my gut. The place smelled of rubber mats and disinfectant, the faint echo of weights clanging in the distance. Michael stood by the reception desk, arms folded over his chest. He wore a sleeveless shirt, showing off toned arms, and gave me a tight nod when he saw me. "Daniel," he said, voice low. He extended a hand. I didn't take it. I just stared. "You want to talk?" "Talk." He pressed his lips together. "Look, I'm not looking for a fight. Laura came to me, said you took everything from her. She's been crying, ranting about custody and money. I didn't realize she was married with a kid at first, okay?" He let out a slow breath. "I guess I just want you to know I didn't plan to wreck your home." My jaw tightened. "But you did it anyway." He exhaled, glancing away. "I'm not proud of it. I saw a beautiful woman who was lost, maybe. She wanted me. I took the chance. It's complicated." I felt a surge of rage, but my voice came out dangerously calm. "It's not complicated. You saw a ring on her finger and decided it didn't matter. Then you used my home, my bed, for your little massages. And my son was in the next room." He flinched. "That part's on me. I was stupid. And look, if you want to punch me, fine. But it won't change anything." "Why did you call me here?" I asked, controlling my breathing. He dragged a hand through his hair. "She says she's pregnant. She claims it's mine." The words hit me like a sledgehammer to the gut. For a moment, I couldn't speak. The world swirled, my chest tightening. Then a hollow laugh escaped my lips. "Pregnant," I repeated. He nodded, face grim. "I don't know if it's true, or if it could be yours. I don't know what to believe. She's not exactly trustworthy right now, but she's pushing me, saying she needs me to step up, to support her." Hatred flared inside me. "That's your problem, not mine." He shrugged, looking tired. "Yeah, guess so. Just wanted you to know what she's been saying, in case she tries something with custody or child support. I figure she might drag you into a legal mess if the kid turns out to be yours." I let out a slow breath, my head pounding. "She won't. I've already got the custody papers for my son, and that's the only child I care about. You do what you want, Michael. If it's yours, good luck." He studied my face for a moment. "You really are done with her, aren't you?" I stared at him, my gaze cold. "You have no idea." Then I turned and walked away, leaving him there with his mouth half open. In the parking lot, I stood by my car, trying to steady my breathing. The possibility that she was pregnant, maybe with his baby, clawed at my nerves. But a wave of relief washed over me. If it was true, then this was confirmation that she burned every bridge back to me. That was good. I didn't want any illusions left. No uncertain hopes. Sometimes clarity is all a man can cling to when everything else is gone. Weeks dragged on. Laura didn't contact me again. Michael's revelation rattled me, but I had no interest in verifying anything. I poured my energy into my new business. Deals started to come through. My phone buzzed with potential clients. I felt a current of excitement that I hadn't felt in years. Late at night, I'd collapse into bed, and for the first time since our marriage, I'd sleep without fear. No prayers, no anxious waiting for footsteps in the hall, no half-felt dread. Just quiet, dreamless rest. One Saturday, I took Tommy to the aquarium downtown. The hush of underwater life. The glow of the tanks, the swaying seaweed. He pressed his palm to the glass, entranced by the schools of fish. I watched him, feeling a gentle swell of pride. This was what life was meant to be. Father and son. Exploring something new and beautiful. "Dad," he whispered, leaning close to me. "Do fish ever get sad?" I considered the question. "I'm not sure, buddy. Maybe. But they can't cry. Not like we do." He looked back at the fish. "So they just keep swimming?" I nodded. "Yeah, they do." We spent hours there, wandering among sharks and jellyfish, collecting small bits of wonder. In that moment, I realized I didn't need to cry either. I could keep going, keep swimming, forging a new path. Laura's betrayal was a deep wound, but I was healing. I bought us ice cream on the way home, and while Tommy munched on his cone, I glimpsed him in the rearview mirror. He looked peaceful, a sticky grin on his face. I let out a slow breath, feeling a rush of gratitude. Maybe I'd lost a wife, but I still had my son. That was enough. That was everything. When we arrived home, I found a plain envelope in the mailbox. Inside was a single sheet of paper, divorce documents. She was filing through a different lawyer, claiming irreconcilable differences. She wanted a clean break, probably hoping to salvage her new life. Fine. I considered my response. Part of me wanted to drag out the fight, make her suffer as she made me suffer. But I looked at Tommy bounding up the front steps, and I knew I didn't want any more toxicity around him. I signed the papers. No hesitation. I'd keep custody of Tommy, the assets I'd secured, the new life I was building. She could have her illusions, or the baby, if that was even real. I let my lawyer handle the rest. The next time she called, I listened to her shaky voice. She said something about wanting a friendly settlement, how we could remain civil for Tommy. My lips curled in a sardonic smile. Too little, too late. But I answered softly, sure, then hung up. After that, she didn't appear again. No calls, no visits. The divorce moved quickly. In a final hearing, we barely looked at each other. When it ended, she caught my elbow in the hallway, her eyes searching mine. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You didn't deserve this." And I gave her a long look, letting the hush of that corridor press around us. Then I turned and walked away. I heard her sob behind me, but I didn't stop. After the dust settled, I officially launched my new company. The day I got the first major contract, I arrived home with a small aquarium kit for Tommy's room, upgrading again. The excitement in his voice made my heart swell. We set it up together, father and son, water sloshing, gravel scattering at the bottom. The gentle hum of the filter was like a lullaby. A sense of calm settled in me that night, as though I'd finally exhaled the last breath of tension I'd carried for too long. Some nights, I still remember the curve of Laura's body under moonlight, the soft sighs she'd make when I caressed her hair. I wonder if the man I used to be is truly gone. I wonder if I'll ever trust again. But I don't dwell on it. I take Tommy to school, come home, pull up spreadsheets, negotiate deals. Slowly, I'm building a better life. Without her, without the fear that used to gnaw at my gut. And in my bed, I lie still under the sheets, the darkness soothing instead of suffocating. No prayers on my lips, no frantic pleas for a love that's already vanished. I let the quiet seep in. Outside, the city hums, but inside, there's peace, a man's peace, earned through heartbreak and pain. And if sometimes my chest tightens, or tears threaten to come, I remind myself, fish don't cry. They just keep swimming. That's what I do. I keep moving forward, never looking back at the night I found wilted flowers on the passenger seat, or the day I heard my boy describe the massage in our house. Because I refuse to be that man anymore. I choose to stand tall, breathe deep, and claim what's mine. My dignity, my son, my life. I can finally sleep. I felt good. And you. I almost whisper it to the empty space beside me some nights. There's no reply. And that's fine. Because I have no need for her answer. Not anymore.